So, 2 weeks after the global launch of Vanguard Zero, and you've been doing your dailies, you've been grinding your crafting materials, you've been doing your character fights, and now you're wondering, well, what should I save up for? What's going to be good in the future? How do you even play this game? Well, guys, today we're going to be talking about just that stuff. What's going on, everyone? My name is Steven Rodriguez. I'm your true champion, and today we're talking about the Set 2 meta for Cardfight Vanguard Zero. Let's get started. Alright everyone, as you can probably tell by the little intro thingy that I did at the beginning of this video, we're going to be talking about the Set 2 meta for Cardfight Vanguard Zero. Quite specifically, I'm going to be doing 3 things. Talking about what cards are coming in the Set 2 meta and why they're good, the big differences between the English format and the Japanese format, and finally, making my predictions as to what the best decks are going to be. So that way you guys can have a good idea of what you should be saving up your crafting materials for now. As I talked about in my beginner's guide to Cardfight Vanguard Zero, a very important thing about this game is the crafting system. So if you have an idea of what cards you actually want to build in the future, you can start saving now and make it even easier on yourself later on. So that way you don't have to spend gems on gems on gems to pull packs that aren't going to give you the cards you want. You can actually just make the cards for yourself. Also in this video, I'll be showing off a lot of resources that I feel like a lot of English players will find very useful. The big way that we're going to be doing this kind of meta analysis is by just looking at the Japanese format, looking at what was good, and then analyzing the cards that are going to be coming out. I will state right now that there are 2 really big differences about the English meta and the Japanese meta that I will talk about in this video. If you guys just want to skip through that and go straight to that part, I will leave timestamps in the description below. But it's a very, very important difference that I feel like is going to drastically affect our meta within the first 2 to 3 weeks of the actual format. So it's going to be very, very simple. But before we get started, I want to just go ahead and explain kind of what a card game meta is for those that maybe don't know. Because a lot of people are playing this as their first card game or their first mobile game or just their first mobile card game. You know, like it's a big, this game has introduced people to the game of Vanguard in a way that I've never seen before. So that's pretty amazing. But at the same time, it means people don't really understand the way Vanguard works. So I'm going to just quickly talk about kind of what a meta is. Basically, that in any kind of card game, there's this idea that there are decks better than others. And so if you want to win the game, you have to play the decks that are better. That's basically what the meta is. I'm going to be trying to predict what those better decks are based on what the cards do, based on what the Japanese format showed was the meta, and of course, the big differences that are happening in the English and Japanese format. I will also be applying my 10 years plus of Vanguard knowledge. Even though my regular Vanguard knowledge might not be the most succinct or accurate at predicting Vanguard Zero gameplay, it definitely informs me and gives me an experience with these kinds of games. So yeah, basically what we're gonna do in this video is I'm gonna make a prediction as to what the better decks are gonna actually be after the Set 2 cards release on May 1st. Also, be sure that if you guys enjoy this video to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. It really does let me know that you guys are enjoying this content. I'm trying to get like 1 to 2 Vanguard Zero videos out every single week on top of the Pokemon and Pokemon TCG videos I'll try to be doing as well. So I'm doing all kinds of content here on YouTube, but I'm also doing all kinds of content over on Twitch. So if you guys have any questions, don't be afraid to leave them down in the comments below, or even better, hop into my Twitch channel. I go live pretty much every single day, and you can always ask me any questions about anything that I do. I don't need to be playing Vanguard Zero for you guys to ask me a Vanguard question. People come in and they're like, can I ask you a Vanguard question while I'm playing Renegade Platinum? I'm like, of course you can. I love Vanguard. It doesn't matter if I'm not playing Vanguard. I'm more than happy to talk about it all freaking day. So be sure to come in there. Links in the description below. Now, y'all, with all that being said, let's go ahead and hop into this video. Alright guys, here we are at this website called VanguardZeroMeta.com, and this is the website that I use because I don't actually have a Japanese account. However, if you have a Japanese account, then you don't really need this video in terms of looking for these resources or knowing what the Japanese meta is because you're already playing it and you're like 5 sets ahead of us, so just, you know, play your game and have some fun, but welcome to the video anyway. But yeah, as you can see, it's separated into 3 things. There's database, there's decks, and there's the Discord. So this Discord is the r/Reddit, or the Reddit for Vanguard Zero Discord, and it's full of all these really useful channels and really awesome people that are just there to help you guys learn about the game and just kind of spread the knowledge of the game. They announce tournaments here, there's friend codes, there's fun screenshots and memes, there's even like funny discords about other games that people might play, like Shadowverse and Duel Links. So this is really just like a community driven Discord page, and it's actually a really, really good resource. But the resource that I'm going to be specifically looking at is the Vanguard Zero Timeline JP. So what this means is that it kind of tracks everything that happens in the Japanese game, Japanese version of the game. And so we can use this as a global launch kind of resource to kind of predict what the sets are going to have, and then accurately predict what the sets are going to have, because they're gonna have these cards. So our May 1st is going to be equivalent to Japanese is January 1st. So we're gonna get the cards that are listed here in the main set, as well as the clans that are introduced. So the only new clan that'll be introduced is Bermuda Triangle. And then actually, as you can see, here's one major difference that I'll point out right now. Granblue already exists for us in the English meta. This actually came out after set 2 did in Japanese. So that's already a big difference, is that we already have a deck in the format before the rest of the set comes out. So it's actually a really big deal. But yeah, this is a good resource that you guys can come to look at what set 3 is going to hold, at what set 4 is going to hold, and so on and so forth. And there's also fun little deck building channels too. So if you want like examples of what these decks actually look like, you can come here and check it out for yourself as well. But that's also what this is for as well. So there's the database, there's the decks, and there's the Discord. This is a really good, helpful link. I'll leave it down in the description below. Definitely check it out. But what we're going to be mainly focused on is the database part. So let's go ahead and start here with the Royal Paladin one. I'm just going to go in order here of the way they appear on my tabs because I did this earlier, just so I could have it done. So yeah, let's go ahead and go to Royal Paladin. It's right here. I'm obviously going to skip over the cards that already exist. I'm just going to go to the new cards that are coming out. We have two new starters. We have Brugal and Drangal. This card is for the Garmor deck, and this card is for the Galahad deck. Both these decks are actually going to be really good versions of Royal Paladin. I would argue the best two versions moving forward. Right now, I said this earlier in my last video, but you should definitely be saving up your Gans slots because you need to make sure that you can build Magic's Lord Blaster when it comes out later on. I think in like June, I want to say it comes out. But these two decks are going to be a fine replacement until then if you still want to be a hardcore Royal Paladin player. In terms of grade 1s, we get really just access to, I think Xenon comes out in the next set, so don't worry about him. We get access to Knight of Quests Galahad. I think Morgana comes out. We definitely get Snowgull, Mirubiru, Borgal, certain cards like these. The big one here is the Galahad, Right Chain, and stuff like that. That's going to be the main grade 1 for that deck. Next up, we got that's next set. We have Beast Knight Garmor and Galahad. These two cards are going to be super important, especially Beast Knight Garmor. The Snowgull Brugal deck basically kind of revolves around superior calling Snowgulls and Brugals and giving them extra power and extra effects with Fang of Light Garmor. But we'll talk about that more when we get to Fang of Light Garmor. But the two big cards coming out of this set are Fang of Light Garmor and Knight of Godly Speed Galahad. So let's talk about Galahad first. He's like the final finisher of the Galahad Right Chain, and he's basically really good at applying crit pressure based off of the Vanguard. So he's actually a very pressuring deck. It works a lot like Tsukuyomi in the sense that you need to have certain cards in Soul. But with the Galahad Right Chain, it makes it really easy to do that. And he just gets extra crits every single turn pretty much. And if you run cards like Kane or Solitary Knight Gansel that shuffle themselves back in the deck or can thin your deck out, you can actually hit a lot of triggers during your turn. So this deck's actually really aggressive. I think the most aggressive version of Royal Paladin is this deck until Magic's Lord Blaster comes out. And then finally, I think the better version of Royal Paladin moving forward is going to be Fang of Light Garmor. Because this card here has an awesome effect where it gives all of your Snowgull and Brugal intercept. And if you guys have been playing Vanguard Zero like at all, you'll know that intercepts are very busted in this game. So when you get extra ones on grade 1s or grade 0s that your opponent now has to just go over and waste attacks on, it makes yourself really bulky and really defensive. And I think this game's actually more of a grindy resource type game, or at the very least, once set 2 comes out, it'll become that, which is really cool. So I definitely like Fang of Light Garmor more than I do Godly Speed Galahad, but Godly Speed Galahad is probably gonna be the best budget version of Royal Paladin for a very long time. And I think this deck is more than good enough to get Legend 10, Legend. I think if you're like hardcore enough, you can get like Legend 50 with this. Like if you're like hardcore and like you know your stuff. The rest of the cards are just like little things here and there, and some of these cards don't even come out yet. One bad side about the database, I'm gonna let you guys know now, is that you cannot filter by set. So you have to just like know what cards come out. That's why this is really helpful, because it kind of tells you what cards you should be looking for. So like Fang of Light Garmor's here, Waterfall, Razor, you know, so you need like little hints to help you find what cards come out when, but it's still where you can find the best information for all the cards. All right, moving on to Kagero. So anyone that's been watching my channel knows that I'm a Kagero diehard. I love Kagero. I love my big Durgans. And they actually, in Japanese, were actually one of the most busted decks on release of set 2. However, there's one change that I'll talk about once we get to the big grade 3 of this set. But the big series of this set is going to be the Amber Dragon series. It's basically the right chain of Kagero. And the way it works is you have your Amber Dragon Dawn, you have Amber Dragon Daylight, Amber Dragon Dusk, and Amber Dragon Eclipse. And they all ride up into each other and evolve and give each other awesome effects. Other cards that come out are grade 2 wise are going to be I believe Bellicossi Dragon comes out in this set. This card's going to be really important for anyone that wants to build the end later on. I believe Prowling Strike Dragon comes out as well, which will be very useful. I believe this could come out in the next set as well. I'm not entirely sure. I can't remember. Lava Arm Dragon. He's the 12k attacker for the Amber Dragon deck. Dusk, Daylight, and Dawn aren't really that big of a deal in terms of Amber Dragons. They kind of just like power each other up. The real big ticket item, though, for Kagero is going to be this card right here. Amber Dragon Eclipse. This card in the Japanese format was literally busted. Let's see, do they have his old effect here? They do. So here's his old effect. This is the only card in Vanguard Zero as of right now that has a nerf, or was kind of changed because it was just too busted, the effect. So first off, if you have this in the soul, he becomes an 11k at all times. Cool. Counterblast 2. This unit gets the following ability until the end of the turn. When this unit attack hits a Vanguard, retire 2 of your opponent's rear guards. This card's effect was so stupid because you could literally clear your opponent's board and then they would have to just not have any resources to attack you the next turn. So you were super defensive on top of being a Kagero deck. So you have access to all kinds of really powerful and consistent attackers. So Amber Dragon Eclipse became really busted because he just cleared boards for no reason. So they errated him to saying, Counterblast 2 until end of turn. When this unit attacks his Vanguard, retire one of your opponent's Vanguard, not 2. So it's a big nerf to it. Honestly, this card becomes kind of unplayable now because it's just better cards. I can retire 1 unit just for calling a card. Why would I give myself the extra cost of having to hit now? You know, when I can play better cards like Draconic Waterfall. So this card being nerfed does make it kind of useless, but it does change the meta for us moving forward, and I'll talk about that in a second. This card was legal and had this effect for I think like a month. So it just ruled the meta for a very long time in conjunction with another deck that I'll talk about. But Draconic Waterfall is the other main ticket item for Kagero this set, and now that this card's kind of just trash now, he becomes the best card pretty much in this set, and he's basically a really consistent attacker. You can discard a Great Thing from your hand and add 10k to him. He's just a big unit that attacks. This will be a part of the Good Stuff Kagero deck in the future, so basically Good Stuff Kagero will be like Waterfall plus Blockade plus like Arc Dragon plus like Overlord. You know, like you don't really play a main archetype, you just play a bunch of really powerful cards that do a bunch of other stuff so you can try and beat your opponent. That's what Good Stuff Kagero is. It's kind of what comes out of this set for Kagero. We don't really get a new archetype until the end comes out later this year, and that'll be the best deck by far. But for now, when this guy comes out right here, but for now, Waterfall is going to be okay. I don't think, sadly, Kagero without Amber Dragon being busted is not going to be that good. It's the best deck right now, but it's not that good moving forward next month, sadly, if this card doesn't get... Now, obviously, so this is one thing that we don't know. So like, we don't know for a fact that we're going to get the errata in English, but it's very likely because our patch numbers are the same patch as the Japanese format, so there's no reason why we wouldn't already have this in the code. If they give it to us for that like first 2 weeks, you know, I'm not going to complain. I'm going to build this deck. I'm going to have a party time. You know, I'll do it. Say I won't. But yeah. That's Kagero. Here we are with Oracle Think Tank. This will probably be, in my opinion, the best version of Oracle Think Tank for a very long time. So if you're a diehard Oracle Think Tank player, this set is for you. Save all your crafting materials so you can just build these cards as fast as possible. The main thing we get is Godhawk, Ichibiyoshi, and the Tsukuyomi series. This is the ride chain for Oracle Think Tank. Are you guys sensing a pattern here? There's a lot of ride chains in these decks, but this one's really good. So we got Tsukuyomi, we got the Goddess of the Crescent Moon, we got the Goddess of the Half Moon, wherever she is, right here, and then we have the Goddess of the Full Moon. So let's go ahead and talk about Goddess of the Full Moon because it's the only card that actually matters. If your soul has 6 or more cards, Counterblast 2, draw 2 cards, and put a card from your hand into the soul. This card's really good at filtering, and the idea behind Tsukuyomi is that the way that this ride chain works is that you can actually look at the top 5 cards of your deck and then put the rest on the bottom in any order you like. So you can actually legally stack your deck, and because you're an Oracle Think Tank deck and you draw so many cards, as long as you have your stack memorized, you can actually know where triggers are in your deck. And the cool thing about Vanguard Zero is that when you drive check cards that aren't triggers, they just go back to the bottom of your deck anyway. So it kind of negates this whole problem that Tsukuyomi, I think, had in terms of like G era, where like it would literally mill itself out because it would draw so many cards. But now you can draw so many cards, check so many cards, and the cards just go back. So now you can get to your stack faster, and not only that, you can also just not be punished by accelerating to your stack. 2 really good grade 3s that this card gets are Secretary Angel and Euriley. I think Secretary Angel is by far better because when it attacks 6 or more cards in soul, draw a card and put a card from your hand on the bottom of your deck, it just accelerates your stack so much more. And then you get Euriley here, where if you have 6 or more cards in your soul, choose a random card from your opponent's hand and bind it. This card's only good if you can hit a PG, obviously. This card was much better in the real game because in the real game, any card can be used to guard, but in the Zero only PGs can be used to guard. So if you ever hit a PG, like if opponent only has 2 cards in hand and they need 2 PGs to win, may as well just throw this down and win the game that way. That's a pretty cool strategy. So that's what's really cool about your Riley. And Tsukuyomi is going to be probably the best deck for Oracle Think Tank for a very long time. I will say right now that it's not like an auto win deck. You know, it actually probably has one of the highest skill caps of like the top tier decks there is. But I will say if you're a hardcore Oracle Think Tank player, at the very least you want to be, this is the deck you should be playing 100%. I will talk about later how it fares against the other decks, but for now just know it's really good and you should play it. One last thing I will mention here is that Imperial Daughter is also coming out in this set, and from what I've heard and seen in the Japanese meta, this deck is very control based actually, and pretty annoying to fight against, because if you have no rear guards, this unit gets power plus 10k plus 1 critical at all times. So you can get 21k base during your opponent's turn if you have no rear guards. Restraint, kind of must want to put another rear guard into your soul and release from restraint until end of turn. So basically the idea of this deck is that you just like force your opponent to kill 2 interceptors. You have nothing in your back row, and then you're 21k base. So it's really hard to get over if you don't have cards that always go over 21k base, and even then you can only do like 1 to 2 damage a turn, and it's still an Oracle Think Tank deck. And whenever you want to, you can just go, okay, crit at the face, and you're like, whoa. So this card's really powerful in the sense that it can kind of shut down certain strategies that don't get over 21k during their turn. I think this card will kind of be a really good anti-Nova Grappler deck, maybe, if you think about it that way. But it's still control based. It's kind of gimmicky, but it is very annoying, and we'll see play. So definitely keep it in mind. I don't think it's better though than Tsukuyomi, because it's not very proactive. It's very reactive, I like to say. So I definitely like decks that are more proactive, like Tsukuyomi. I'm gonna get to my stack whether you do anything to me or not. This kind of forces your opponent to kind of like play your game with you, and I don't really appreciate that kind of play style. But I'll probably play this deck because I actually am a fan of control in real life. So any deck that I can play that's kind of control based, I'll give it a shot and see if I like it. All right, moving on to Nova Grappler. This deck will probably be, so this is probably the most hyped cards that are actually coming out in general. I know Tsukuyomi and like Amber Dragons are pretty cool, but I think Razors and Blouse are going to be way better. So first things first, we get the ride chain for Nova Grappler, which is Blouse. This is Blau Junger, goes Blau Panzer, Blau Kluger, and then Stern, Blau Kluger. But we also get an introduction into Razors. So Blau Panzer, Blau Junger, and Blau Kluger all accelerate and evolve from each other, and then they make it easier to get each other person. Street Bouncer also comes out. This is a really good card in the future if you want to build Razors. Blau Kluger right here. We get high power Razor Custom. Oh, I should also mention we get regular Razor Custom. These units all get power based off of having Battle Razor, which is your starter, on board. So keep that in mind. Battle Razor needs to be your starter in Razors. I think it's pretty obvious though that it has to be. Here are the 2 big grade 3s that come out. We got Stern Blau Kluger, and we got Perfect Razor. So let's talk about Blau Kluger first. If you have Blau Kluger in your soul, plus 1k, cool. When this unit attack hits a Vanguard, counterblast 2, and discard 2 cards from your hand. Stand all of your units in the middle column and draw a card. This unit loses Twin Drive until end of turn. Keep in mind though, it still gets its regular drive check. So instead of getting 2 drive checks, you get 1. It's not like the end where you get 0. Sorry, it's not like regular Overlord where you get 0. So basically, the way that this is going to kind of work is you combine it with this card called Toolkit Boy, wherever he is. It's right here. When the attack by a Vanguard, this unit boosts, it hits a Vanguard, countercharge 1. So you basically get to restand and attack again with your entire Vanguard column for counterblast 1. That's really good. If you pull any triggers, this card just gets increasingly more powerful, and you can do a lot of damage really fast. I've seen people push people to like 2 to 6 in a turn watching Japanese gameplay. This deck is really powerful, and it's going to be really budget because Stern Blau Kluger is a double rare, and every other card below it is going to be rare or less. Really, really good. However, not better than Perfect Razor. All right, let's talk about this card. During your turn, this unit gets power plus 3k for each card with Razor in its card name in your soul. If you have 4 or more, then this unit gets critical plus 1. As you can already tell, this card is going to be always really, really strong. So if you guys don't know, there's already a lot of really good Razor cards in Nova Grappler. Actually, one of the best cards in Novas. So the other Razor grade one is Burst Razor, right here. plus 1, doesn't really matter. He has Razor in his name, that's all that matters. Next up is Razor Custom, you already saw. Next up is Trans Razor. This card is so good for this deck because you could superior call one of your other 8 Razors or one of your other grade 2 Razors. It's really, really good. So yeah, like he's gonna get at least, I think the standard is like he'll always be like 21, 23k power. Actually, this is actually a really interesting thing is that back in the day, Perfect Razor had this effect where if you didn't have any Razors in your soul, or any Razors, I should say any Razors on board, he would actually lose 2k power. In this game, he doesn't. He's always 11k, which is really, really good. His second ability is when placed, counterblast 2 and add 1 Battle Razor to your hand. This is an important thing to realize. It says add a Battle Razor to your hand. It does not say add a Battle Razor from your deck. It says add one to your hand. This literally creates a new Battle Razor and just puts it on your board. If you guys don't know what Battle Razor actually does, he's a stand trigger, and he has 3,000 power, and then at the end of your turn, this boost, draw a card, and return it to stand. That's really good. You never really use that effect, though, because you just want to have him on board, so he's A, an extra Razor, and B, he procs your high power Razor and your Razor custom skills, and they each double in power. So having this is really, really good. He accelerates his own ability, he creates natural aggression, and what's really cool is he can activate his ability all pretty much for free. Because the main thing about him is the crit and the extra power. Well, guess what? This last effect here, no cost, and put all cards, no cost, and put all of your rear guards with Razor in their card names into your soul. Really, really good. And if you can combine this with cards like Street Bouncer and Trans Razor, you can get literally free cards to your hand. So you can put a Razor behind Street Bouncer, rest them, draw a card. You can call Trans Razor, call a Razor off the top, and then just put the rest in the soul, and boom, you proc his effect and gain a bunch of power and a crit. And then you just swing with a crit pretty much every single turn. You run crits and you just blow up your opponent really fast. This is literally the most aggressive deck that Vanguard Zero will see for a very long time, and I think it'll probably be the most aggressive deck until like MLB comes out. So this deck is going to be really, really good. I think it will be probably the best deck, like, because it is the best deck for Nova Grappler, and it will be the best deck just in general. So guys, that is all the support for the already existing clans. Kagero, Royal Paladin, Nova Grappler, Let's get to the new clans that are introduced in set 2. And really there's only one. There's Bermuda Triangle. Okay, so Bermuda Triangle, if you guys don't know, is like the waifu clan of Cardfight Vanguard. You know, it's one of the most popular clans ever, for many reasons. It's also been historically really good. Whenever support for Bermuda Triangle comes out, there's always a lot of hype and a lot of good people that play it, and it does a lot of good things. I will say, however, that I really think that in Vanguard Zero, Bermuda Triangle sucks. Because if you guys don't know, Bermuda Triangle's main shtick or main gimmick is that they return cards to their hand, or they bounce cards back to their hand, as we like to call it. And the idea is that you can use cards as resources to deal damage to your opponent, or to use other effects, and then just put them back to your hand. And then you can save them later for guard or extra resources in your hand, because cards in hand is the most valuable resource in all of Cardfight Vanguard ever. However, that's for regular Vanguard. In Vanguard Zero, that doesn't really matter, because you can't use those cards to guard. You can only use PGs to guard. So really, calling cards back to your hand is just so you can edit your, your formations and stuff. You don't really need to do that if you just make a good formation at first. So yeah, there's a lot to be desired here in terms of the main gimmick of Bermuda Triangle, but they might change it long term in Zero. You never know. I've seen weirder things happen. So I will talk about some of the cards. The best cards, I think, are the Perle and Perla combo. So they're this grade 1, grade 2 double or / triple rare. So Perle here, when placed, one of your Pearl sisters, Perla, gets the following ability until end of turn. When this attack hits a Vanguard, Soul Charge 1 and draw a card. Really good for resource management and just gaining a lot of cards to your hand. Really good. It's a booster and gives the effect to its Perla sister. Let's go ahead and look at Perla. Here we go. Pearl sister Perla. When this unit attack hits a Vanguard, Soul Blast 1 and return one of the other rear guards to your hand. So you can just use Perla to bounce Perle, and then next turn use Perle to give Perla an effect again. Bada bing, bada boom. It works like that. You just rinse, recycle, and just get extra resources. Next up is probably the best grade 2 is Girls Rock Rio. When this unit is returned to your hand, Counterblast 1, Soul Charge 1, and draw a card. Really good, again, for resource management. But again, I want to state that unless you're really drawing PGs, you're not going to get any defensive output or defensive return on these bounces or on these effects. You're really just going to get more aggression or more consistent columns, which is really good. Consistent columns are always really good. However, every deck can get consistent columns. That's no reason to play one deck over another. Another thing that comes out is the Riviera Right Chain, which historically has been really good because you can like restand and like do kinds of fun stuff. But in this set, all it really does is draw you cards. That's pretty much it. You have Super Idol Riviera here, just like when top idol Riviera red unit draw a card. Nothing special. All right, moving on to the grade 3s. There's actually a lot of grade 3. So these are the most triple rares, right? We have 3 grade 3 triple rares. We have Riviera, we have Reindeer, and we have Pacifica. So Pacifica is the Mega Blaster. Riviera is the Ride Chain with Persona Blast. Give 3 units rear guard. It's basically Persona Blast to use Soul Saber Dragon's effect. So that's good, but it's not the best. We have Velvet Voice Reindeer, who is probably going to be the best Bermuda Triangle deck. And this card will be a ranked reward, by the way, so that's going to be pretty cool. When your Dread Deck reveals a grade 3 card, return one of your rear guards to your hand and call a card from your hand to open rear guard circle. So this is going to be really, really good. It's gonna be aggressive. It's gonna be consistent. It's gonna be just nice. So this is a really, really powerful card. Pacifica, just so you guys know, call 3 cards in your deck for Mega Blast. Really good. Not the best, but really good. And yeah, so that's it pretty much for Bermuda Triangle. Like, all these cards pretty much come out, so feel free to read all the effects you guys want to. It's pretty much the bare bones for any kind of clan, as well as a little extra spice here and there. But I figured, moving on, we're gonna head over to my Vanguard Zero display so I can show you guys the Granblue cards, and we can talk a little bit more about how Granblue is a little different now than it was for Japanese format. Alright guys, here we are in my Vanguard Zero account. Let's go ahead and check out. So here's the clan event, by the way, if you guys have not seen it for Granblue. It's officially live now. This is something that's way different for us than it was for the Japanese meta. This actually came out halfway through Set 2's original meta, so I think 2 weeks after the set actually dropped. So that was actually a big deal. So we're going to get this at the beginning of Set 2 meta, so this will be a big change, and it will affect our meta, at least in my meta forecast. Let's go ahead and look at the cards for Granblue. Alright, so here I am in the cards section. Let's go to Granblue. Let's go to all, because I don't own any Ruin Shades or Night Mist yet. I actually don't own a lot of things. I'm waiting to open my packs on Streamletter. Be sure to follow me on Twitch, which again, always gotta be plugging. Always gotta be plugging that Twitch. But anywho, this is every card that's going to be out for Granblue for a very long time, so this is it. But yeah, the idea that, if you guys don't know, Granblue's main shtick is superior calling cards from the drop zone. I'm sure a lot of you guys had trouble with that Goki fight during the story mode. I hear that's a very tough fight for a lot of people. I beat him on first try, so I don't know. I feel kind of bad. I'm like, oh yeah, it wasn't that hard actually. But Night Mist is a really powerful card. So is Ruin Shade. It's probably the best card for Granblue for a long time, because this card mills, and it basically fuels your entire strategy by just being able to mill and get your important cards in the drop zone already. But yeah, with cards like Baskirk and Spirit Exceed, you can kind of manipulate your damage zone and superior call units from the drop zone to kind of maintain columns / maintain pressure. But the real cool thing is that you can just constantly have 2 intercepts every single turn. And right now in this meta, as long as you're not fighting against Steel Dragon Blockade Inferno, sorry, as long as you're not fighting against Steel Dragon Blockade, that's actually a really, really powerful effect. Just being able to constantly make your opponent have 3 attacks that can hit your Vanguard. Also, a weird note is that Spirit Exceed's kind of busted now. He hits 11k during both turns, which is really nice, and he just is a 14k rear guard. That's actually a very consistent attacker and can hit really good numbers. So the combination of Baskirk and Spirit Exceed is actually a really consistent and powerful deck, and I think will be for at least 2 months or so. Like, I think this deck has a lot of good potential to be tier 1 / tier 1.5 for at least 2 months moving forward. I think at the launch of Set 2, it will be one of the best decks in the format, because I think it can hold its own against Tsukuyomi, as well as against, I'm not sure how it does against Razors, probably not that good, but I'm pretty sure it's pretty good. So now that I've shown you guys all the cards and talked about everything that's coming out, let's go ahead and hop into the actual kind of meta analysis part of the video. Alright guys, so here I am still in my Vanguard Zero. I don't think a point to really mention the old cards anymore. I've already shown you guys plenty of photos and stuff and linked you guys to stuff, so you guys know what the cards do now. Basically, the idea of this meta is going to be defined by 2 things. What can have the most advantage over the opponent in terms of card advantage, damage advantage, or just regular board presence, / what can actually just deal the most damage. Set 2 is defined by this. So decks like Royal Paladin, Brugal, and Fang of Light Armor will have a lot of defensive power, but lack a little bit on the offensive side. So they need to run cards like maybe Galahad. I could see like a Galahad hybrid with Garmor being kind of good, but obviously you can't run Brugal and Galahad support, so you need to kind of pick and choose which one you go for wholeheartedly. You don't need Galahad support to run Galahad. Godly Speed, like, you just need 6 cards in Soul, and there's other ways to get cards in Soul in this deck. You could run freaking Barkle to do that, There's all kinds of fun little strategies that I think Royal Paladin will have once the Fang of Light stuff comes out. So that's really cool. Moving on to Oracle Think Tank, I think Oracle Think Tank will be probably really good in the advantage aspect, because they'll constantly be able to just refuel their hand, refuel their board, and just be able to get to their stack, manipulate heal triggers, maybe manipulate stand triggers, manipulate critical triggers, whatever they need to really manipulate to try and get an advantage in the game. I think that'll be kind of really good for them. But again, the same problem that they've always had is that if they don't have Southern Tom, they actually lack a lot of offensive pressure. So they need to still make sure once they get a way to kind of figure out that offensive side of things, it'll be a lot better. But having cards like Silent Tom is never bad to rely on. And obviously, I think Oracle Think will be really good. Moving on, we've got not Shadow Paladin. Moving on, we've got Kagero, which if Amber Dragons get the nerf day 1, this deck will not be any better than it is now. Blockade and / good stuff Kagero will still be the best way to play Kagero, and it just won't be able to keep up with decks like Oracle Think Tank or really Royal Paladin, because you can't retire that many cards right now in Good Stuff Kagero. With cards like Overlord, you can clear out their interceptors. Sure, that's great, but that's only really one turn you're going to be able to do that, and they can always have more interceptors in that deck, so it's going to be kind of hard to offensively pressure as long as you're not running blockade. If you're not running blockade. So yeah, really interesting. I do think it'll still be pretty high tier. I don't think it'll drop to anything below tier 1.5. But will it be the best deck in the format? I don't think so. Not anymore. Not in set 2. Royal Paldin and Oracle Think Tank have a good shot of being the best deck, but I think, and this is probably, I think this is kind of obvious. What I think here is that I think Nova Grappler will be the best deck in set 2. The second it drops, like day 1, and until probably like the next set drops. Like until Limit Break drops, there's no way Risers are gonna be bad. There's no way. There's just no way, because pure aggression is just, you can't really stop it in this game. Like if I can deal 4 damage to you before I'm on my first freaking grade 3 ride, you're in lethal range already for my second turn. I don't need to last that long. And I can run draw triggers to constantly maintain my hand and still have natural crit pressure. That's what's really good about Risers. It can have artificial advantage through its draw triggers and its cards like Hira and Trans Razor, and have really good natural aggression through Perfect Razor and having that amazing crit pressure on turn 1, you know, of grade 3 ride, which is really, really powerful. So Nova Grappler by far I think is gonna be the best deck. However, because if we do get Amber Dragon support, Nova Grappler and Kagero are going to be fighting it out for number 1, but because I believe that Amber Dragons will be nerfed, Nova Grappler number 1 for sure. A pretty close number 2 though is a tie right now, I think, between Oracle Think Tank, Royal Paladin, and I'm going to give it to Granblue, man. I'm going to give it to Granblue at that second spot. Like I could see Granblue being really good, and the big reason why is that you have time. You know, before set 2 even drops, you have like 8 more days. When I'm recording this, 7 more days when this video comes out, to actually grind for your Granblue cards. As long as you get like 2 to 3 Rune Shade and like 3 Night Mist, you're good, man. You can build a deck and it'll be as good as it ever will be, because the deck is just naturally good at recycling its resources. So you don't really need 4 Night Mist. 4 Rune Shade is preferred, so definitely run 4 of that. But before Night Mist, definitely not. 3, 2 is fine. But yeah, and these grade 3s are all pretty decent, man. Like these are 2 really good Vanguards and 2 really good, and these are 2 really good backup rearguard attackers, and they recycle themselves. So even if cards get retired, you can constantly have consistent pressure, which is really good. And with cards like Night Mist, you can have consistent intercepts / consistent defense. And with cards like Tommy the Ghosty, you can have just in general consistency. So I like this deck moving forward. I definitely think it's a good deck for at least the first month of set 2 meta. Once set 3 comes up, obviously, and we get like cross-ride stuff, and we get like all kinds of just mess, I don't think Granblue will survive the test of time until we get more Granblue support, of course. But for right now, build it, man. I think it's gonna be really good. And Bermuda Triangle, like I said earlier, just doesn't really do anything in Vanguard Zero. Vanguard Zero doesn't really like its natural mechanic. You know, the natural gimmick of bouncing cards in your hand doesn't really do anything in Vanguard Zero, in my opinion. I just don't think it'll actually be worth investing in unless you're a diehard, like if you're a diehard Bermuda Triangle fan, go ahead and build it. It'll be tier 2 at best. So just to wrap up, my big 3 recommendations for decks in set 2 to build, to play with, and to play test against are Razors, number 1. Oracle Think Tank Tsukuyomi, number 2. More so because I know so many people are going to play this deck, versus I think it's actually better than Royal Paladin. I think because what's really cool too is like another big difference that I totally forgot is that in Japanese, the Granblue deck, while it was good and it did do the thing it wanted to do, it was actually really bad in the meta because freaking Amber Dragons existed, and every turn their board would just get blowed up and they could not constantly refuel it. They were just running out of resources. So Garmor is actually going to be a lot better in the English format than it was in the Japanese format. And with cards like Gancelot being able to recycle your heal triggers and stuff like that, you're going to be just like a naturally really cool deck and very consistent. So I definitely really like Garmor. And I'm really excited to see how well Garmor does, because I think it'll surprise a lot of people who are coming from the Japanese game. Oh yeah, this deck is really good, huh? Because Amber Dragons might not be the biggest crutch in the world. And you guys, that'll go ahead and wrap up this video for me. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys did enjoy. If you have any questions for me, again, don't be afraid to leave them down in the comments below, or hop into my Twitch channel. I go live pretty much every single day in the afternoon, Pacific Standard Time, and I do all kinds of stuff from Vanguard to Vanguard Zero to Pokemon TCG to Pokemon Let's Plays and Nuzlocke. I do all kinds of things. I'm always happy to answer questions and talk about Vanguard, talk about whatever you want. We have a great growing community over there in Twitch, and it's honestly super amazing. If you guys want to hang out there and just ask questions and get better at Vanguard while enjoying yourselves a little bit, well then go ahead and do it. Links in the description below. But anywho, that'll be it for me, guys. Thank you so much for watching this video. Always been to work hard, rest easy, and live well. And I'll see you all next time. Peace.